What's going on, guys? I'm Vapor Knight 13, and today we're going to be doing some Space Engineers. Now, I don't think I've actually ever posted a Space Engineers video. Jason and I were going to do a couple videos a while back, but never actually did. So, yeah, what we're going to do is, I'm going to do a tutorial series on Space Engineers, covering, starting out with, of course, the more basic stuff and going on to the more advanced stuff. I think I'm going to start out with just making a... not even making anything. Just to start out, I'm going to show you what everything is, what everything does, you know, that sort of thing. Now this goes for creative and survival, so I will be showing, now I'm currently in creative, but I will be showing you how to do everything, whether it's, I'm just going to show you all the basics. Anyways, let's get started. So, in Space Engineers, the basic well, I like to think of it as Minecraft, but has some awkward physics, and, well, we're in space, so that would explain the awkward physics. So we got blocks, we got slopes, we got corners, we got all kinds of blocks and shapes and whatnot. So, I mean, I do like to think of it as Minecraft, however, it is so beyond Minecraft, of course, graphics-wise especially. Now, keep in mind, this is an early access game, so it's still an alpha. I don't think pre-alpha, but it is still an alpha, so yeah, there are going to be a lot of bugs, and honestly, the only bugs I've actually ever seen, surprisingly, are a couple of things for the merge block, which is part of the new update. I will explain that also in this video. But the only other bug I've seen, it's not actually a bug, it's just lag. And, you know, the world, as I believe the world is endless. And the problem is, I think that everything that you see, everywhere you've been is already, someplace that that has been generated because you've been there, it stays generated. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, because Jason and I have been getting a lot of lag if we go exploring and then we come back and we have a lot more lag than when we left. So I'm assuming anyways that that's how it works. I'm not an expert. I haven't looked, I haven't exactly helped develop this game, so I don't know how it's programmed or anything like that. So let's get started. So we got our basic blocks and, you know, different shapes that we can mess with. We got heavy and light armor blocks, and armor slopes and corners and all that. Light and heavy, as you may, you know, realize. Heavy is, well, it's heavier, but it's more armored. It can't be destroyed as easy by multiple things, thrusters, guns, you know, you name it, collisions. So light armor block are basically just the opposite. I've noticed that heavy armor block, there is a difference aesthetically, and that's the fact that it looks like the heavy armor block. So let me show you something. I'll just do it in whites, or green, or let's do red, so that's easier to see. Oops. Crap. Yeah, I'll fix that later. So we got the heavy armor block. We got the light armor block. Now, as I already do, I don't use heavy armor blocks for some reason. I don't know what it is. I know I should, but I just don't. So as you notice, the regular block is covered with, or its rim, or not its rim, sorry, its edges, or whatever you want to call it, are all white, whereas the heavy armor block, they're all black. Yeah. To change color when you're holding an object in your hand, you just use the braces or brackets, and you simply scroll through them. So honestly, I think I like the black color just because it looks nice. I also use this really dark blue. Now there's a way you can change colors. I don't want to go too in depth with colors just because it's kind of pointless. I mean, they are colors. Anyways, you click P. Now, P has two uses, the second of which I will go into later, but if you're not in a vehicle, and you click P, then the color picker opens up, which allows you to select the hue, the saturation, and the value. All these are basically default colors for your color picker, whenever you're coloring something. So if you want to go in and edit one of these colors, and it's dynamic, so it makes it really easy to tell what exactly you're getting out of it. So I like choosing black, so I'm going to stick with black. So now there are three types of vehicles, because vehicles are probably the most important thing about space engineers. I mean, there is also survival, but the only way you can survive on Space Engineers is with a vehicle. Vehicle is life. If you don't have a vehicle, you're dead. Alright, we got a couple things here, but I'm not going to go telling you what they are just as of yet. So you're going to want to hit G, which opens this menu up. I've already opened this menu a couple times, so sorry I didn't say this sooner. Alright, so you hit G, you open up this menu. Now, you got a couple options down here, or at least on the version I'm on. You guys may be on a different version. So now we got the option for a new small ship, large ship, or station. A station, it uses big blocks, and I'll show you the difference between small and big blocks. Basically, the station uses big blocks. If you go here and you hover your cursor around any object, you notice that in the top left, I can't put my cursor over it just because it won't show unless I'm hovering over it. But if you notice over to the left of the selection screen, or wherever all the blocks are, you notice that says light armor block. It shows the components that are required to build it, but it also shows it also says above its name large ship and station. Also, there's one below it that says small ship. Now, basically, what that means, it's telling you what types of vehicles, what types of vehicles can use this block. So, for example, this block, the grinder, I'll tell you what it is later. It can be used on a large ship, a station, or a small ship. I'm trying to here. An assembler, for instance, it can't be used on a small ship. It's way too freaking big. They didn't want to make a small version of it. Yeah, I don't know. So there's large ship. So you can use this on a large ship or a station. Another one, for instance, drill. It's just the opposite. You can only use it on a small ship. I guess just because there are... I'm actually not too sure why. They should make a version of that for large ships, but at the same time, would you really want to use it on a cruiser, on this huge freaking ship? Would you really want to use a little drill? Would you really want to use that giant ship just to mine through asteroids? I mean, anyways. There are a bunch of tubes and conveyors, connectors, ejectors. I don't want to talk about all of these in this video, just because those are just a little bit more complex. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna create a small ship, just so I can show you a couple of the things. So keep in mind, small ships and large ships, unlike stations, they aren't bound to the grid. So if you notice that, when I'm using this, it's got a certain grid whenever I'm using the station. So if I were to do all this, so if I were to completely remove it from there and just connect it back, it's still technically a part of it because it's connected via the grid. So now, if I were it sounded like I lag echoed. That was weird. Anyways, so say I were to do this. Now, I guess it's a little bit more difficult on. Yeah. Damn it. Alright. Anyways, I guess it's a little bit more difficult on these giant blocks, but normally on. Can you even move them? I'm curious now. Sorry, I probably should have tested this, but No, you cannot move them. Alright. No matter what, you cannot seem to move large armor or I mean, just armor blocks in general, if they're large. So yeah, let's go ahead and make a small ship. Because owning a vehicle in this game is extremely useful. Now you notice that when I'm holding a block or anything for that, or most things anyways for that matter, you see this this holographic cube in the top right corner of my screen. Now that's an option. Sometimes I don't know whether or not it's on by default, but it is extremely useful. So basically, that's your rotation help, or your rotation assistant, or whatever it's called. That tells you. So you notice how it says home, and it's got an arrow aiming upward. So if I do home. So I want to go the other way, so end. And it's dynamic too, which is really cool. Let's go page down. Now I've had a couple people say this is really difficult. It really isn't. There's nothing to this, to be quite honest. It is extremely easy, once you get the hang of it at least. I will say though, it's not difficult to read the holographic rotation assistant tool or thing in the top right corner, but it is difficult to memorize it, just because it is, like I said, it is dynamic and it constantly changes. So it's always based off what you're doing. Now, building a ship, it can be really irritating because, for example, on Minecraft, whenever you're creating something, a lot of the time it's going to be symmetrical, or at least in my case, a lot of the time it's going to need to be symmetrical. Now, of course, on a game like this, there's just as much of a pain. Except, I mean, there is the jetpack to help, but still, it is a major pain. So what's really cool, the developers of Space Engineers created a symmetry tool. So if you click M, you get this red line. Now, symmetry, as we both know, is not limited to a single axis. I don't even know how to put it. Yeah, I guess axes. So if you click M again, or twice, you get this green line. So the green line is symmetry. So if you, I'll add symmetry to that block. So I'm going to hit N to turn it off and N to turn it on. Then voila. Basically anything I put above the green line, it does under the green line. So if I do that, and this makes it extremely easy to make builds, which without symmetry, without symmetry, it'd be extremely, well, it would be twice as time consuming. So if I want to deactivate the symmetry, like, I want to have symmetry on, but not on that side. So alright, so here I've got it on. So now if I click M again and switch it to that exact one, if you right click, it disables it. Not just symmetry, but that specific axis of symmetry. I don't really know. So I'm going to hit M again. The most useful symmetry line is got to be the red one in the middle. That is the most, I think that's the most helpful. But real quick, just to show you something. So as you may imagine, it doesn't know exactly where the middle of the ship is. It's impossible to. So what it does is it allows you to choose exactly where symmetry lies. So if I want this to be the middle, I just left click and that's the middle. However, that's not the case. This is the middle. So I'm going to click N twice, and there we go. Now this is the most useful line of symmetry, just because all of my builds, in fact, they aren't the same. They aren't the same up and down. They aren't the same on, I guess, left to right. They are the same. I cannot even explain this correctly. I just really hope you guys know what I mean. But sorry, symmetry, I'm not very good at explaining it. But anyways, let's continue to some of the actual blocks and tools you can use in Space Engineers. And now you can have multiple symmetry lines, so if you want to use the blue line and the red line, it is of course possible. Now if, for instance, you turn off symmetry, you put a block there, and you turn on symmetry, now normally it would, if I were to put a block here, it'd put a block here, but because it's already because it's already there, it's not going to glitch out, it's not going to break, so fear not. So you just click it, it doesn't break, doesn't do anything wrong, alright, works just fine. So now how do you drive it? Now realistically, how would you drive a spaceship or a plane or anything? You need some sort of cockpit, some sort of control. So if we go into the, if we click G to open this menu up, there are 3 cockpits to choose from. Unfortunately, the only one available for small ships is Cockpit 1, which isn't all that unfortunate. It's a really nice looking one, but I kind of wish they may have let us use one of these two. Maybe you want Cockpit 3, that would have been a good one. So now, if you notice here, it shows a little yellow line. Now, although there isn't any power or thrusters or anything into it, you can still go into it. So if I hit T, I get this little menu, or not menu, I go into the ship. Now, if you hold Alt and look around with your... Now, let me get out real quick. Let me go back in. Now, if you move your mouse around, that'll normally move the ship, assuming, it's not parked like it is now. And now if you hold Alt, you can kind of just look around without actually moving the ship, which is really cool. Unfortunately, it looks like crap if you look downwards, first person. If you click V by default, you can go third person, which is really nice because there are some vehicles where you don't, you're not going to have any glass in front of you. You're going to completely be blocked off by blocks and whatnot, but it's still possible to go third person, so it's nice. I think it is. Now what's cool about this cockpit is that you can also get in from the back, so that increases exactly what you can do with this cockpit. Now you can have passengers, you can have as many cockpits on the ship as you want. The only problem is all of them control the ship, so none of them are passengers. They're all drivers. I'm hoping now. Of course, they are eventually going to create a passenger seat, which I hope they do very soon, because having like 5 people control a ship when 4 of them don't even, aren't even able to see it's just a little bit irritating. So, anyways, let's continue. So now, sure we can get into our vehicle now, but what's the point? It's got no power, it's got no it's got mass. I guess that's not a big issue, but it's got no power, it's got no gyroscopes to allow us to control, no thrusters, which allow us to actually move, gyroscopes, allow us to turn our ship and rotate and such. Thrusters allow for actual movement. Reactors, they of course give power. Right now we have no power. So yeah, let's continue. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add thrusters. So we're going to add thrusters here, and let's do some for reversing. Alright. Now, of course, they won't exactly work right now, and that's, of course, just because we got no power. So let's go get power. So open our menu. Now, there are 2 types of reactors, 2 forms of power. There's the small reactor and the large reactor. Both can be used on the small ship. both can be used on any ship or vehicle for that matter. So I've already got a small reactor. So I'm going to hit 3, and this is a small reactor. Now I want to show you something really cool. In a second, I'm going to neatly place the reactor right there, and of course because of symmetry there's going to be 2, which is awesome. And so now, because as we added power, you notice that, and because it's creative, we don't actually have to fuel it with anything. If we were on survival, we'd actually have to fuel it. So now we got power, so the thrusters are working. So now, if you actually have reactors, you can click Y and you can disable, you can turn off. Basically, it's turning whether you want the engines to turn on or off. It's an awesome feature that, for some reason, not every game has, which would surprise you. Like GTA, for instance, you can get in your car, but when it comes to turning it off, you gotta completely get out of the freaking thing. Watch Dogs, it's kind of nice because you can just hit F to hide in your car and it actually turns it off. On here, you can actually just completely turn off the car, which is just awesome. So, yeah, so let's take this thing out for a test drive. Now we got landing gear at the bottom there, that little thing with the green light. So now if we want to unlock the landing gear, we can either go into our little menu here. Now this is the terminal. Normally you open the terminal by clicking K. Frankly, I thought that was the stupidest key to use it. I switched it to F just because F was, for some odd reason, set to, as the second button to jump. I can't figure out why they did that. I don't know. Maybe they're gonna make something that affects jumping later on in the game. Who cares? So anyways, so now the terminal is basically all the pieces, all the things such as the thrusters, the reactors, the the landing gear, the rotors, anything. So what you can do, certain things you can, everything you can turn off or on, everything you can name, only some things you can do a little extra. So, reactors, for instance, it shows your max output and your current output. Your landing gear, it shows the state of it, so, locked, type, landing gear. What the hell? What kind of landing gear isn't landing gear? Oh, I guess if you rename it. Okay. So you can turn it off, but in this case I'm going to unlock it. Now, there are 2 ways to do this. You can click unlock by going into the terminal and clicking it, or you can click P. Now, I said before P had 2 uses. If you're outside of a vehicle, you use it to go to the color switcher. If you're inside of a vehicle and you have landing gear, it's used to unlock the landing gear. So notice that when the landing gear is unlocked, it's yellow. When it's locked, it's green. Now look at the bottom right corner of the screen. You notice how it says landing gear 1 and in proximity 1. Now basically, that's showing how many landing gear you have on your ship and how many landing gear are in proximity of, are close enough to the ground or a block in order to lock. So if you've locked, then you can see how many landing gear you have and how many landing gear are locked. Currently, all of my landing gear are locked, which is really only 1. But alright, so now what we can do, we're going to hit V. Or no, we're going to hit P because I want to do a third person. And yeah, we're going to move. But first we need to activate our reactors. Now keep in mind, turning off or on the power does not, for whatever reason, affect the landing gear. So if you had no reactors, you could still use landing gear. You wouldn't get very far, but hey, you'd still be able to use it. So I'm going to disable that. I'm going to turn on the reactors, and we're going to move. Yeah, not very fun. But that is where gyroscopes come in. Now I want to point something out. You notice that when if I were to move backwards and then I let go, normally you would still keep moving, but rather than constantly moving, it stops you with the thrusters going in the opposite direction. Now that is called inertia dampeners. So this also works when you're using your jetpack as a outside of your vehicle. So So notice alright, so I have my dampeners on and it stops me, but if I have my dampeners on and I move one direction, it's not going to stop me by using the thrusters in the opposite direction. So I have dampeners off, so if I move this way, then I'm going to sorry guys, accidentally minimize Space Engineers. I'm going to constantly move this way, but if I turn them on, then it's going to slow me down, and it's only going to stop me in place. It's not going to go back to where, you know, it's only going to stop me. So if I were to move all the way back here and then turn dampeners on, it's only going to stop me there. It's not going to move me all the way back to the platform or anything. Now you can put thrusters in all directions. I just want to show you, I just want to do this just to show you about inertia dampeners and such, and how exactly the thrusters react. Now keep in mind, I learned this the hard way, so I don't want you guys to. I'm just going to do this real quick. So now, if I use the backwards thrusters, you notice how the blocks don't get destroyed or anything. And before I do this, I want to actually show you what it looks like for a block to get destroyed, because it is really cool in this game. I'm not going to lie. It's actually destroying it bit by bit. It's not just you keep shooting at it until it completely dissolves like in Minecraft. No, it's not anything stupid like that. You shoot, it actually does damage. It's so freaking cool. But keep in mind, if you harm a block, it'll also harm blocks within a 1 block radius. So if I put a block there, there, and there, for instance, why not? Then we pull out this. Notice how it's harming the other blocks. Now it only does that within a 1 block radius, as far as I know. So notice how the block in the top left corner isn't getting harmed. Oh. Okay, well, I was mostly right. I mean, if I was wrong, then this block would have gotten harmed. Or one of those two. I don't remember which, but... Now, with thrusters, there's an option when you're creating the world whether or not to enable this on or off. I think it's more realistic to have it on, but for safety, you may want to have it off. But I think it's a realistic effect. So alright, so now, if you look over here, if I were to put a block right in front of a thruster, what do you think would happen? Would it let the block just sit there and, you know, we're still moving back, no problem? Or do you think the block would get destroyed, realistically? Yeah, that's what I thought. So it destroys any block that's only directly in front of it. And the block has to be, I think, within 3 blocks of it. So let me just check this real quick. 1, 2, 3. I think that's what it was. No. Alright, so if you want thrusters to not to damage anything at all, they've got to be 3 blocks away. So here's the thruster, here's the block. Let me actually just move it 1 more. That's the radius or that's how far the block that's directly in front of it, how far it has to be. So now if I do this, it's not going to damage anything because it's too far. Delete most of that. Alright, now let's put on a gyroscope. We're only going to use 1, however when you go in here, if you open up your terminal, you can adjust the power of gyroscopes. And the only reason that they did that, I like it actually, and I'll explain why now. If you're making a car or something, and you don't want the car to just do a 180 within 0.2 seconds, then you can of course adjust exactly how much power each gyroscope does. And of course you can name it, turn it off and on, whatever. but it's actually I've learned that it's really helpful if you actually name it, just because it gets really confusing. So we're gonna go in here. We're gonna unlock our landing gear because we can't use the gyroscope otherwise, and now we can turn. Now, if you notice, guys, we're moving up. That's because we have no thrusters going on the y-axis and none going on the z-axis. Yeah, z-axis. Why not? So that's why we're moving up, because we got no thrusters aiming upwards to stop us. So if we go out, God, it's hard to aim like this. That's why I didn't want to go too fast. When we do that, notice how the ship stops. And why not? Just for the heck of the demonstration. Right before... Alright, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to turn symmetry on. Off. I'm going to put that right there. So now if I do this... Oh no, we're moving, this way because we have no thrusters on the other side. Whatever do we do? Now the inertia dampeners, they do work, but they only work when you have the right, things. So, oh crap. So now to move left or right, you use A and D. I probably should have told you this before, but to move forwards and backwards, WS. To move up and down, up is space, down is C by default. You can, I think it's C by default. I'm not too sure. Yeah. Anyways, you can hit escape, go into options, and change your controls this way. Yeah, there's a lot of controls. But if you do need any help without, and you don't want to go directly into controls, they made a quick control list, which is pretty cool. Kind of sucks how it kind of goes down here, but so yeah, here are all the controls. Pause. Nope. So I'm gonna lock my landing gear. We're gonna look at another quick aspect. This video is probably going to be a lot longer than it should, but it is covering all the basics. So we do have large and small thrusters. Large thrusters, they are, as you would think, they do the same thing as regular small thrusters do. Not regular, they do the same thing as small thrusters do, except they look a little bit different. They're way bigger, and well, I guess they are a little bit more effective, but they of course use more power and fuel. So, what's another thing we can cover? We got cargo containers. I'm gonna grab a quick cargo container. They come in small, medium, and large. I'm just gonna place one cargo container there. Actually, I should delete that and use that on symmetry. So now if I click F, now there are certain things on the, it's certain pieces of everything, whether it's reactors or cargo containers in this instance, they all have, or a lot of them anyways, not thrusters for some reason, but a lot of them have this little yellow thing, or just a little yellow thing that you get whenever you want to enter the cockpit. So if you click F on that, whoops, not on the cockpit though. I was just using the cockpit yellow thing as an example. Click F on it, and you notice that you get this. Now this is everything that is connected. Wait, isn't on? Yeah, so here's my cargo container. I don't know why it's called small cargo container. Oh, that's why. Okay. Now, basically a cargo container, it stores stuff. Everything in Space Engineers has a certain mass, a certain volume, and basically cargo containers can only hold so much. They can only hold so much. There are medium and larger cargo containers, or you could just put a ton of small cargo containers if that's what you feel like. So yeah, this is just filtering and just filtering tools. Now these are character inventory and the connected inventory, aka the cargo container. Now of course you can switch it if you want, but frankly I've gotten used to my character one being on the left and the other one being on the right. So now this is still the terminal, so you notice that I can also affect everything here. So if I were to go inside the ship and I go to my inventory, oh, never mind, I can't do that. Sorry, I'm I'm master at space engineers. But anyways, you can't actually, even if you're inside the ship, you can't access, things like cargo containers. You can't just take things out of it when you're in the cockpit. I mean, I guess that really doesn't make any sense. Now, we've got a new feature. It's called Convert to Ship. I'll show you that later on. No assemblers, right. Alright, so let's go into what's next on our list. So we've gotten over small cargo containers a decent amount. Cargo containers, you can click F on the little yellow thing right here, as a lot of interactable blocks have, and we can take stuff in, remove them as we please. However, notice how we can't, and now, we can put things into this cargo container, but we can't put things into the other one. Later on, I will actually show you how you can put things in that cargo container using this one. They're called conveyors. I will show you them later, or maybe not even in this video, maybe the next one. This video is way too freaking long, but it serves a purpose. So now, let's go into gravity generators. Oh, I already have one. Gravity generators, they can only be used on large ships and stations. Now what they are, they're, as their name tells you, they just generate gravity. So of course you can't use them on small ships because it wouldn't really be a purpose, as I would imagine. But so if I were to create a gravity generator, you notice how in the bottom right corner it says gravity and the direction that the gravity is pulling you towards. So right here, because I removed that one, I've got no gravity. And automatically, if you're in an area with no gravity, you automatically activate your jetpack. And I completely forgot. To activate your jetpack, you click X by default. Now, of course, on survival you can take fall damage, but because it's creative, it's like, yeah. So, yep, that's gravity generators. Now, next thing I'm going to show you, and there really isn't much you can do with gravity generators. The more gravity generators you have, the stronger the gravity is. So you notice, for each one I have a G of gravity. Why not? I don't really know what that means for, or what it stands for. So if I hit F on it, oh, I actually don't remember this. Okay, so apparently you can change. Oh, that's really cool. I do not remember this last time. I think they actually changed this, or maybe I just never actually checked gravity generators. Whatever. Anyways, so we got field width, height, depth, and acceleration. So acceleration, we can choose how. We can actually do negative, really. So we can choose how much gravity is used on each gravity generator and the area that the gravity generator holds, or I don't even know. So I'm gonna show. I really should put. No, I'm gonna put 2. So I'm gonna go into artificial mass. Artificial mass, as you may now, for some reason, even when you have gravity, your vehicles are not affected, and I guess that's why they made artificial masses. With artificial masses, if there's gravity in the area, it pulls your vehicle down, which is perfect because there are wheels in this game, so it's the perfect tool for creating cars. Some guys, they made some really weird way of doing it where you attach your landing gear to a small piece of asteroid, then build your vehicle around that. I thought that was stupid, so I figured out how to use artificial mass. I mean, I know there are tutorials, but I really want to figure it out myself. Now if I go in, so now I have 2 things of artificial mass. I'm gonna put in those, and the freaking thrusters just broke off. Great. Just gonna do that. All right. So now so now I'm gonna unlock my landing gear. Whoops. I'm actually going to change where these thrusters are just because it was damaging that block. This may look stupid, but I'm just going to put it up higher so that doesn't damage the blocks. I don't think it needs to be that high. Alright. Now you notice that I can't move. You're probably thinking, what the heck? That's because the more artificial masses I have, the more weight I have, therefore the more mass I have. So in the bottom right corner you can see I have a certain amount of mass. So I can go in and I can go to my terminal and I can turn off some artificial masses. So now I'm not as heavy, but I still got some weight, so... Uh-oh. No. Oh, crap. Well, this sucks. I'm going to turn off both these artificial masses, and then you notice that... voila, magically we are not affected by gravity anymore. So artificial masses are extremely useful. So even if you are an advanced space engineers player and you're just looking at this for reference, or I don't know, just to get a good reminder of how to play the game, yeah, artificial masses are extremely useful for cars, which I will go into how to make a car later on in the series. But it is a little bit more complicated, and you do need to know how to use rotors, which of course I will also explain. But let's move on. I don't want to go too much further, because the next few things are a little bit more complex. But I will show you a couple more things. So merge blocks, I'm going to show you guys that in the more advanced tutorial, just because merge blocks, they're a little bit tricky if you don't know how to use them right. These are a little bit more advanced. Not really the medical room, but I want to show you that later. Here, interior lights, you can't actually use it on a small ship just because they're interior lights, and you can't actually go inside of them except for the cockpit. However, there are spotlights. Spotlights, they do exactly what you may think they do. They just create light. Here, I'm actually going to go third person. So, it's kind of funny, I didn't actually realize this until later on, but you can change the radius. You can change the fall off. And you can change the intensity of the light. Oh god, that's a little bit bright. So the light we're currently working on is the one on the right. By default it uses 4.0. Alright, so now of course you can name it, you can turn it off or on, but you can also change the color, and it's of course dynamic, so I'm going to change it to blue. I like blue. Now I'm going to go to spotlight, excuse me, and spotlight number 2, and I'm going to change that to red. Alright. We can create a police vehicle. I'm actually going to create one later on in the series just for the hell of it. But, so yeah, that's how you use spotlights. Pretty basic, but pretty effective. It can be, it's more aesthetic, honestly. But there are times in Space Engineers where it can get really dark, so it's useful to use a spotlight. Antenna, I think they're going to use that for something later on. However, antennas are right now just aesthetic. Beacons, very important thing in case you're going to lose a vehicle, and you're going to lose a vehicle, but yeah, there's nothing you can do right now. So let's say your inertia dampeners were on, and this actually happened to me, so pay attention. Let's say your vehicle is lost in space, or you and your vehicle are lost in space. You need to go get some supplies or something, and we got a beacon. Beacons, no matter what the range, you can always see a beacon. You can name your beacon, you can turn off and on. But say your inertia dampeners were off, or maybe something happens and you lose your vehicle. It's always nice to have a beacon. I'm pretty sure later on in after some updates are probably going to allow you to adjust the color of the beacons, which is going to be really nice, but for now it's just kind of stuck yellow, which is a little bit unfortunate. I don't like yellow. Ore detectors. Well, there are asteroids, which you get minerals, which can be used to create parts. Ore detectors basically just show you kind of like in a beacon sort of system where everything is. So uranium, it'll kind of highlight where the uranium is, similar to what a beacon does. It just it shows you exactly how far away you are, and it's really nice. Warheads, they're explosives. Yeah, don't mess with them. Decoy, I'm actually not too sure what they do, to be quite honest. I'm just gonna put it on just to see if I can figure it out real quick. Doesn't look as if you can adjust it. I don't know what it's for, to be quite honest. I mean, it's kind of just there. If I figure out what it's for, I'll tell you guys, but I think it's a little bit pointless. Just a little bit. So, anyways, next thing, if I even have a next thing, we got turrets, but none of them can be used for the small ships. These are grinders, drills, and welders. And then there are, of course, weapons, which I'll have fun with in the next video. But drills. For a small ship, they're really quite big. And they're, of course, just for drilling into asteroids. Welders, I'll show you what a welder is. This is the handheld version of a welder. It basically just fixes block. Now, because I'm on creative, I don't need anything, but if you're on survival, you actually need the pieces in order to fix it. It's really cool when you fix it, too. It looks really neat looking. Alright, so I'm going to fix that. Let's see, missile turret, Gatling turret, no, I can't do any of those. Grinders, they're basically just for destroying blocks. And they're the bigger grinders, which can destroy ships. So if you're in a fight and you want to go close combat, that grinders can be very useful. So, or if, for example, now there is a difference between using the grinder and using the hand drill. The hand drill is only for asteroids. So if you use a hand drill to mine like a platform or something for its materials, you're not going to get crap. It's just for asteroids so that you can get the ores. The grinders, however, they're used to destroy blocks in order to grab their components back. So say you want to move this, platform or something. So what you can do, you can use the grinder on here, and you notice how the health bar of that block is slowly going down. And eventually, it came into this world just like it came out. That didn't sound quite right. But you get the idea. I don't think there's actually anything more I can say in this tutorial. I mean, there is glass, but, it's glass. There are wheels, but they don't move unless you have rotors, which I'll explain later, so wheels are kind of pointless right now. All these are just a little bit more complicated, so I'll show you that in the next video. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this long as hell video. So yeah, I do hope you enjoyed it. I really hope this wasn't too boring, just me rambling on about all this crap. If you have any extra questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. Now, this was more of a creative tutorial. It didn't really show many of the aspects of survival, which I'll go into later when I actually get into the refinery and assembler. But anyways, I'm not signing off. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like the video because it really does help. So later.